So we have Brother Abdul Rahman Damra today to speak. He's a freshman at BU. He graduated from IFS. Before that, he went to Willowbrook. I don't want to give you his whole biodata or anything, but that's a little bit about him. And he'll be talking about role models in Islam, and obviously, as we'll learn from him, there's a particular role model that we should all look up to. So, without further ado.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. So, as like Shah and Troy before me, they want me to talk about who our role model should be. And as Muslims, it's pretty obvious that it should be our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Does anybody know anything about the Prophet before he was a prophet? Like any certain characteristics about him? Well, like people of Quraysh used to call him. There's like these two names he had, there's special names he had. They used to call him. Amr, how do you say it? He said it. Al-Amin. Yeah, Al-Amin. Does anybody know what that means? Al-Amin means like the honest one. And then they also called him As-Siddiq, the trustworthy one. This is before he became a prophet. So they knew that this is a man of good. And so when he received the revelation, he went to the people of Quraysh and he told them, if I were to tell you right now that there's an army around the mountain, they are coming to attack you, would you believe me? They said, yes, we would believe you 100%. And then he said, I'm coming here to tell you that I have a revelation, and I'm warning you of the day of judgment and the hellfire, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has appointed me as his messenger, and this is the new religion, and they want to pretty much preach about Islam. And at that point, they all started cursing him, calling him names, and saying, get out of here, you're a liar. And these are like his family members. The Quraysh, it's a city, but everyone's interrelated somehow. You know how like it is in the overseas, like in Pakistan, Palestine, all that stuff. You're from villages and everyone's knows each other because it's a small place. That's how it was. So imagine your own uncles cursing you out. That's how it was. Abu Lahab would get up and he would just curse at him in front of everybody else. And so he, with all these distractions, all this criticism, he still preached Islam. And Aisha, she explained the Prophet ﷺ, and she explained how his character was that of the Quran. So whatever the Quran said, Muhammad ﷺ, the Prophet, would implement it within his daily life. And he even told the people in a hadith, Sahih hadith, he told them, I have come here to perfect character. So I came here to make sure you guys know what's right from wrong, to make sure you know how to treat women correctly, how to treat men correctly, how to treat even animals and planet correctly. How to treat just your individual family members, how to treat your neighbors, Muslims, non-Muslims, whoever it may be, how to do that, how to treat yourself, how to treat the religion, how to treat every aspect of life. That's what he came to do. He came to perfect character. And we all know the Prophet as like this soft guy, very nice, always smiling. That's what everybody always pictures in their head. But he was also a powerful man. And like the Sahaba, they explained in several hadiths that during war, they would find him in the middle of the battlefield fighting the non-believers. And even on occasion, sometimes the Sahaba, they would run behind him for shelter because they would be so scared. So they'd be like, where's the Prophet? Let's look for him and we're going to go and find him. And we're going to hide behind him. And so it would be seen that he'd be in the middle with Sahabas just lined up behind him, seeking his protection. And over 23 years, he was a prophet. And each day, almost every single day in these 23 years, the Prophet ﷺ received 6,626 ayahs of the Quran every day. And every time it was sent down, the same exact reaction would occur. He would just be sitting there, and then the angel Jibreel would come with the wahy, with the revelation, and his body would just start shaking profusely. He'd just shake and shake, and he would start sweating. And the Sahabas, they explained it as if somebody put their hand underneath his hand when he was shaking, or their leg underneath his leg, it would feel as if their bones are being crushed. Because it was something that a normal human being cannot explain, cannot encounter. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran in Surah Hashr, لَوْ أَنزَلْنَا هَذَا الْقُرْآنَ عَلَى جَبَلٍ لَرَأَيْتَهُ خَاشِعًا مُتَصَدِّعًا مِنْ خَشْيَةِ اللَّهِ. If we reveal the Quran on a mountain, now picture a mountain, it's a huge just piece of rock pretty much, right? It's not, you can't just punch it and it'll come down. You gotta blow it up with multiple bombs and dynamites and stuff like that. It's a big structure, right? It's a big landscape, whatever you want to call, natural occurrence. And the Quran says, if we reveal the Quran, we put it onto a mountain, we gave the responsibility to a mountain, the mountain would crumble to dust. But we gave it to mankind. And not any mankind, we gave it to the Prophet. He gave it to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And what do we know about the Quran? What's so amazing about it? What's something different about from the Quran than, like, let's say the Bible or from any other religious book?
Every letter is 10%.
So when you read it, there's reward to it, but like just like the overall, like a bigger picture of it.
It's never been changed?
It's never been changed. So it's a mercy to mankind. The Quran is a mercy to mankind. From the day it was revealed to now, till the day we all die, to the day of judgment, it's going to be the same exact thing. It's going to say the same message, and it's going to be the same mercy to mankind. And so that, the most magnificent miracle, the most merciful book, was given to the most merciful person, and that's the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about his mercy. Because as a role model, you can go through different angles about the Prophet ﷺ, how he lived his life and everything. So I'm going to focus more on the mercy right now because it covers a lot of things. So the Prophet ﷺ, one like thing he would always follow, one rule of his, he would never generalize. So he would never say this person is better than this person, or this person can't be as good as this person. He treated every single person equal, whether you're rich or poor, old, young, man, woman, whatever you may be. If you have a disease, if you're perfect, rich, poor, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He treated everybody equally. And there was one time where the Prophet ﷺ, he saw an old woman, and she was struggling. She had like a lot of luggage, and she had a camel, and she was trying to put it onto the camel, but she was struggling. So he rushed towards her, and he helped her put her luggage on the camel, and then he helped her travel back home. He helped her unload. He made sure everything was good for her before he can, depart. And before he departed, she said, she told him, "Oh young man, your face is full of light. Your words are so soft. You make me so happy, and my heart is just in joy. What can I do to repay you?" And she wasn't, she didn't have much money. She didn't have much to give. So she's like, "I don't have much to give you, but I can give you a piece of advice." And back then, advice was, imagine if somebody would buy advice for like the price of a car nowadays. So they would put $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 down just to hear a couple words of advice. That's how like valuable it was back then. So so the Prophet ﷺ said, "Advise me." And she said, "There's this man. His name is Muhammad. I don't want you to be affiliated with him. He's a bad man. He's a sorcerer. He comes to just destroy the people. He separated our families, the tribe. Stay away from him. You're a good person. I don't want you to be near him." And then later on, they're talking, and then she finally asks him, "Oh, what's your name?" And he turns around and smiles at her, and he says, "My name is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam." And all she can do at that point was fall to her knees, and she said, "Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu annaka Muhammadur Rasulullah." I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that you are His final messenger. Because she knows that no normal human being is going to come out of his way and help her out all the way till she gets home. Make sure she is satisfied with everything, and treat her with respect. And when she criticizes him in his face, he still smiles back and replies to her politely. She knows that this must be the truth. This must be somebody special. So that's why she believed in him. Another example was the Prophet ﷺ, like for disbelievers, for example, like in war, on the battlefield, he was a warrior. But as soon as he got off the battlefield, he was a totally different person. He was like this nice, loving, sweet guy that everybody pictures. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, He specifically talks about the people who are captured and who are prisoners from the enemy, and He specifically says in the Quran to treat them properly, and just to make sure that they hear the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just let them hear it, let them listen to the message, and after that, their decision. If they want to accept, they want to accept. If they don't, let them free after that. So there's this one prisoner they captured, and what they would do, the Prophet ﷺ, they would tie him around the pillars in the masjid. So he could be right next to the masjid, and he can see how the Muslims interact every day. Because the masjid was like the hot spot. It was the center of the town, right? That's where everybody went. So that way he can see how Muslims lived their daily life. So the Sahabas, they would come, they would smile at him, say salam. If he was hungry, they would feed him. If he wanted to go and take a shower, they would let him take a shower. They would clothe him. They treated him like as if they knew him for years and years and years. And every day they would explain the message. This is Islam. This is what we believe in. For 3 days, and the man every day would reject it. Every day said no. The second day no. The third day no. And so at the third day they released him. They said, "Okay, you can go." And they even gave him a horse. They gave him a horse, and he went away from town. And a couple kilometers back, he came returning back. And he got off his horse and he went to the Prophet ﷺ and he said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. And they asked him, and the Prophet ﷺ asked him, why didn't you embrace when you were in captivity? Why didn't you embrace when you were a prisoner? And he said, I didn't want people to think that I accepted Islam because I was like forced to. He said, I wanted people to think that I accept Islam because it is a just religion and that I did it for my own will. So over here you can see how the Prophet ﷺ, even people who didn't believe, he still treated them as if they're as if it was his own friends and brothers from a long time ago. And not him, the Sahaba, because we know that the Sahaba, they are considered the best people after the Prophet ﷺ, right? The best group of men, the best group of women. And why is that? Is because they had the best leader that was ever on the face of this planet, and they would implement every single thing he did. From the smallest things you can even imagine. From the way he walked, it was narrated that he would walk with always like something is on his mind. So he wouldn't walk slowly and take his time. He'd always get somewhere in a hurry, always, because he doesn't want to waste time. They would even explain how his body structure was, how his hair was. Like he wasn't, and it was explained how he wasn't a tall man, but when he was in a crowd, he seemed taller than the others. How he would talk, how he would interact with his wives, how he would interact with children, how he even walked from like his house to the masjid, how he even used the bathroom. Little things like this, they all took note of it, and they would try to copy it bit by bit. And so when they did all this, they even copied one another. Because there could be a Sahaba at one point, he was sitting with the Prophet and he saw the Prophet, for example, there's a hadith that the Prophet ate chicken in a certain way, then he ate another food. And maybe there was Sahaba at that point, but another Sahaba wasn't, so they would copy each other, they would ask each other what happened. And they would imitate each other also because they know that this person imitated the Prophet, so why not imitate him who imitated the Prophet? So he had this effect on other people too. The mercy and the characteristics of him, it showed off, and it like sunk on to the minds and the hearts of the Sahaba. And there was this one time, the Prophet like was on a let's say a pedestal, or not a pedestal, like a tree trunk, right? And there was people under him, and he was giving out money to the poor people. People who needed money, he was giving it out. And he kept giving it out until he had no more money. And there was a Bedouin who came, and Bedouins at that time, they were very harsh people. They were very firm. They're like, I want this, I want it now. They didn't have like just time to have fun or do this, that. They're like that. They're very harsh people. So he came to the Prophet and he snatched him by the neck, by right here, and he pulled him down very hard. He pulled him down like this until it was narrated that there was a red mark around his neck and it was bleeding. That's how hard he pulled him down. And what did the Prophet ﷺ do? He went and he just leaned towards the man so to ease the pain. So instead of pulling back or trying to push the guy, he went towards him and says, what can I do for you? What can I help you with? And the Bedouin was yelling at the Prophet, like, give me your money. I want some money now. And the Prophet ﷺ said, I don't have any money. He would give it to him, but he didn't have any money. And the Bedouin wouldn't agree. He thought he was lying. He's like, give me your money right now. I want your wealth right now. By Allah, you're going to give me your wealth right now. And the Prophet was like, all right, just give me a moment. And he waited till all the Sahaba left. Everybody left, so it was only him and the man. And he was like, follow me. He took him to his house, and he clothed him. He fed him. He bathed him. He sheltered him. He took care of him as if it was his own brother or son. And this is a Bedouin, somebody he's never met before. Imagine like a stranger coming out of nowhere, yanking you down by the shirt. I'm sure the first thing you would do is probably maybe swear at him or push him away, try to get into a fight or whatever, because it's just rude. And this is the Prophet ﷺ. So the Sahabas, they had to control themselves too, because sometimes there'd be Sahabas, there'd be Bedouins